I'm Amber Smith, President of the Holland Young Professionals. The Holland Young Professionals have recently partnered with the Community Foundation of the Holland Zeeland Area to establish a donor-advised endowed fund. This fund allows young people in our community to give back. I would like to introduce Mike Gorehouse of the Council of Michigan Foundations. Mike has worked with youth advisory groups across the state to help young people give back and participate in community activities. Mike, tell us a little bit about your work with young people.
I currently am the Program Associate for Youth and Community Foundations at the Council of Michigan Foundations. And the Council of Michigan Foundations is a membership organization of over 350 foundations all across the state.
And do you see that there's a need for young people to be giving and that's easy for people to do? Or
Definitely. I think something that I'm extremely passionate about, and I know that there are a lot of folks around the state, a lot of folks here in Holland too, philanthropists that understand that, philanthropy there's multiple facets to philanthropy, and all different types of people do philanthropy, and all different types of people can do philanthropy. So the definition that I use when I talk to young people and introduce them to the concept of philanthropy is this definition. Philanthropy is the giving of time, talent, and treasure for the good of the community. So it's the 3 T's or T cubed or however you need to remember it. But the purpose is that there are 3 different parts to philanthropy. There's giving of your time, which most of us know is community service, volunteer activities. There's giving of your talent, and talent often for most people can come in terms of board service. For a lot of financial representatives, they can help serve nonprofits in board capacity, leadership capacities. In this case, these young people, the talent they bring to the table is the understanding of youth issues in the community and knowledge of that. And the third one is giving of treasure, giving of resources that we have to help benefit the community. So it's teaching them about that there are 3 different ways to give. But it's important that each one of us does all 3 T's, and this is usually the kicker. Most people they'll give time. A lot of young people community service is a huge thing right now, which is great. But then they might not do the other 2 of talent and treasure. And a lot of times, individuals that have a lot of resources and wealth, they will give their treasure, and that's awesome and that's great. But then sometimes they might miss out on the other 2 T's of talent and time. So what I try to teach people is that it's important that you give of your time, talent, and treasure to benefit the community. And those can be in varying quantities. Some people have more time to give, so they're going to focus more on that end. Some people have more resources, so they can give on that end as well. But it's important that we do all 3. And so when you're talking to young people, they might not have a lot of resources. And young people could be high school students. It could be those of us that just graduated college and have lots of student loans. It could be anyone, but giving those resources, even if it's a little bit, it makes a big difference. It makes a big difference for the organizations, and it makes a difference for you. It's another level of engagement. So that was a long answer to your question, but I do think that all of us, young to old, should be philanthropists, should give back to our communities, and those are kind of 3 ways, if you want to kind of categorize it in terms of 3 different ways you can give back.
Yeah, it is important to work with community foundations.
Yeah, that's a great question. And I'm glad the Holland Young Professionals are working with the Community Foundation. When I grew up in Holland, went to school in Grand Rapids, came back to Holland, and was starting to get engaged with a lot of different efforts. But when I started joining the Holland Young Professionals and then heard they were partnering with the Community Foundation, it was 2 win-wins from my end, because I think the role of community foundations is critical to communities. We are fortunate here to have a great community foundation in the Holland Zeeland area. And the Community Foundation has this interesting role as kind of the philanthropy of the community's bank account, I guess, if you want to say it that way. We have some awesome nonprofits here in Holland Zeeland area, but the Community Foundation gives us a space to provide funding and resources for those nonprofit organizations. They can kind of do some strategic planning. The same way the city kind of looks at the overall city plan and say, how do we move the city forward? The Community Foundation looks at the overall nonprofit sector here in the Holland Zeeland area. And how can we strategize? How can we move forward? What are some places that we need help in, some strengths that we have? How can we bolster those? Other advantages of partnering with the Community Foundation. One, you get this kind of global vision and scope, which I think is an extremely important perspective that we're involved in. But the Community Foundations have a tax benefit too, which is awesome. It's not just the same tax benefit that you get when you donate to a normal nonprofit organization. The Community Foundation has a state tax credit. So, for instance, my wife and I, we're going to contribute to the HYP Fund at the Community Foundation. And so, as a married couple, you can give $400 to the fund at the Community Foundation. So, if you give $400 to the HYP Fund, then there's a state tax credit of $200. So, it doesn't matter your tax bracket, whatever you're in, if you give $400, you get $200 back from the state. And then you also get to take the federal tax deduction for a charitable contribution. So, in the end, for us, a $400 gift to the HYP Fund actually only cost us less than $150. So I happen to be a math major, but I don't know if it takes the math major to know that if really what I'm giving of myself is $150, the HYP Fund's getting $400, and then that translates into benefits to the community. So, and you can do that every year. If you're single, you can give up to $200, and in that case, the tax break would be $100. So I think we have this great network of professionals in HYP, and that tax benefit to me kind of makes giving to the Community Foundation a no-brainer. I mean, I support giving to all kinds of causes, but the Community Foundation, that added tax benefit just means that, man, for $150, you know, the benefit of $400 for the HYP Fund is just huge. So I think the role of the Community Foundation is important. I think it's important that HYP is involved in the Community Foundation, showing that we care about that subsect of our community here as well. And, you know, if it takes numbers to motivate you, then, you know, the tax benefits are awesome.
A little bit of an incentive there.
Yeah,
sure.
Definitely.
It's giving easy for young professionals.
True.
Mike, you were recently the award winner of the Philanthropist of the Year for the Community Foundation of the Holland Zeeland Area. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And thank you for being here today, and thank you for all that you do. And for more information about the HYP Fund or to contribute yourself, please visit www.behyp.org. Thank you.